Psychology of gender. So what is the stereotype? What is the prejudice? What is the difference between these two? It is a mental categorization, which can be either positive or negative. Okay. Because of which your thinking becomes lopsided. Your thinking becomes biased. So it can be either positive or negative. So it's mostly about what thinking. So when you have positive thinking, only positive thinking about a particular group, right? You have created a category. So these people are good people. This is a stereotypical thinking. Okay. You have created a stereotype, a group. You will have positive emotions. You will develop positive emotions or not? You will develop positive emotions. Your actions towards that group will also be mostly positive, right? You have an inclination to act positive, which means the outcome of this positive thinking, positive mental categorization will be what? Positive attitude. Can we say that? You'll have a positive attitude. But if you have a negative thinking about a group, negative emotions will be the outcome, as a result of which you develop negative attitudes. And when these negative attitudes become extreme, okay, so in a prejudice, then there should be a cognitive, because it is a negative attitude. What are the components of attitude? What are the components of an attitude? ABC components. Remember ABC components. What are the ABC components? CAP components. Cognitive components should be there. See, because it is a negative attitude. If it is an attitude, there should be three components: cognitive component, affective component, and behavioral component. What is the cognitive component here? The cognitive component will be the stereotype. Yes, the negative stereotype itself is the cognitive component. Say, for example, we'll take the issue of gender discrimination, right? So, or prejudice towards women. Why does it exist? The reason why it exists is when we break it down into smaller pieces, we see there is a cognitive component. What is the cognitive component? The gender stereotype, right? There is a gender stereotype. What is a gender stereotype? It is about a society deciding, or a society's way of thinking or categorizing the things that are to be women-like, the things that are to be men-like. That is gender stereotype. So, what is the affective component then? The affective component is sexism. In this scenario, it is sexism. It is the acceptance of the sex roles as prescribed by what? Stereotypes. As in, I like those people who are accepting the roles assigned by the culture or the stereotype. See, what is the stereotype? This is what men should be like. This is what women should be like. Yes, the roles are assigned. Whosoever accepted, I like them. Whosoever do not accept them, I don't like them. What is this? Sexism. It is the affective component, emotional component, like dislike. And behavioral component would be discrimination. Behavioral component would be discrimination. Hence, it can come in the form of what else? Violence. An inclination to discriminate, an inclination to be violent. That is the behavioral aspect. Did you understand the difference between stereotype and prejudice? Yes. Sexism is the word, which we need to focus on, the affective component. So it is about the acceptance of sex role stereotypes. This is the acceptance and desirability. Acceptance and the desirability of sex role stereotypes, which can occur at individual level, organizational level, societal level, or even at institutional level. What is institutional level? It is at the level of the government institutions, even at that level. Organization, the workplace level.
So today's class, issues and perspectives. Yes. Okay, in this chapter, what we will be learning is related to altered states of consciousness, ASC. We know consciousness. What is this altered state of consciousness? See, consciousness is your normal consciousness that as of now, right? What level of arousal is there? Okay, what level of arousal is there? That is normal consciousness. You are aware of the things that are ongoing around. Sometimes you pay more attention to things. Yes, you are extra cautious. Is that altered state of consciousness? Absolutely yes. Sometimes you're not aware of the things that are ongoing. You have a hazy picture of it. Then that is also altered state of consciousness, right? So different altered states of consciousness are there. For example, you have dreams are considered to be an altered state of consciousness, a phenomenon in altered state of consciousness, and this happens during sleep. So we study about sleep and dreams both. Apart from this, hypnosis is another thing, which is an altered state of consciousness again. So we learn about dreams, we learn about sleep, we learn about your hypnosis. Sensory deprivation also leads to an altered state of consciousness. Sensory deprivation also leads to an altered state of consciousness. Can drugs lead to an altered state of consciousness? Yes. Even drugs lead to altered state of consciousness. Okay. Absolutely. Yes. So all these, that is related to sleep. Okay. Apart from this, so this is one area. Altered state of consciousness is one area. Apart from this, Intersensory perception is another area. Extrasensory perception is another area. Intersensory perception and extrasensory perception. And then we have psycho-cybernetics. Then we have psycho-cybernetics. This is about self-image. This is about self-image. And then we have artificial intelligence. It's a topic. These are all, not connected topics. That is why it is there in the last chapter. So all these are connected. These two are connected. And then these two are not connected with one another. These are separate topics. Apart from this, you have one more topic related to simulation studies. Simulation studies and computer application. Computer applications. Okay, this is what you have in this chapter overall. So first we will cover these areas, then we'll come to these areas. Done. Simple way. Group 1, Group 2. Group 1 के लिए हमने क्या किया? Let's say meditation का example दे, right? Meditation is the intervention, right? After doing meditation, right, stress का क्या हुआ? So there are 10 people in this group, 10 people in this group. So meditation किया, group 1. So this is the experimental group. So some treatment is given, treatment condition 1. Stress levels for this group was, let's say, 50. Average. This is the mean. There is another group, treatment condition 2, right? There was no meditation whatsoever. They were just asked to sit down. No meditation. Inka stress levels the 55. Is there a difference between these two groups or not? Yes or no? Now, what am I asking? Is the difference between these two groups significant enough to call it what? It is because of meditation. Understood? Clear? You are getting my point. Now, what is the hypothesis we have? What is the hypothesis? Meditation reduces stress levels. So, our hypothesis is meditation reduces stress level. ये hypothesis है. What is null hypothesis? H0 is the null hypothesis. Meditation does not have an impact on stress levels. A null hypothesis. If we want to reject this, right? If we want to reject this, we have to prove alternate hypothesis, HA. What is the alternate hypothesis? Meditation does have an impact on stress levels. That is the alternate hypothesis. When can you prove this? When you reject this. Very simple. Right? See, if you just reject null hypothesis, automatically alternate hypothesis has to be true. Agreed. Now, when can we reject null hypothesis? When we say there is a significant difference. Now the question is, sir, when do we say there is a significant difference? We may say that the difference is just 5 here, right? How do we decide whether there is a significant difference or not? For this, we need what is known as alpha level set karna hai. Generally, for most experiments or most statistical analysis, alpha level is set at what? 5%, or we also say 0.05. Alpha level is set at 0.05. Okay. Chapter 2, paper 1. Methods of psychological research. Or methods of psychology. इसमें first thing we are going to learn about what is research. So I'll go with the flow chart, right? For this entire chapter, you just continue with the flow chart. Next chapter has concepts. जैसे कि statistical methods में you have ANOVA, right? Two-way ANOVA, correlation, regression. So वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा concepts है. इसमें भी in this chapter also you have some concepts. Concept based, you have some aspects related to, there is something called as brainstorming, है ना? So and then you have grounded theory, right? And in the next chapter you have something called as research design as well. So various research designs as well. So those things will go into the details. So wherever it is not required, we'll just go with the flow charts. Okay. So what is research? As the name suggests, research. Hai ki nahi? So research. What is searching? You try to find something. You are researching. Basically, you know a bit of it, but you are searching for more. So wo research hai. So research is a systematic effort. It's a systematic effort to either find or confirm. It is a systematic effort either to find or confirm the facts. It can also be about a systematic effort to investigate a new problem or a new topic. Research can also be a systematic effort at the description of the event and the variables involved in it. See, this is all you have to remember. Description of an event and the variables involved in it, the relationship of between the variables that are involved. So ये research है. Research marks a very important part. It is a very important part in the field of science or scientific study. Why? Because without research you cannot have a mass of knowledge. You can't collect that knowledge. Accommodation of knowledge is not possible if there is no research. So for any scientific field, research is a must. Why? Because research leads to accommodation of more knowledge, right? That is, you will be able to find new things. So that itself creates knowledge for any field. And for a science, it is much more important. Now, different kinds of research are there. Types. Types. Basic research. Basic research. Translational research. And applied research. These are the types. Basic research. The main aim of basic research is to enhance the body of knowledge of a particular field. It is not to prove something. It's not a specific problem or a specific, situation for which you are trying to find a solution, right? You're not trying to find a solution. You're not researching about a problem. You're just doing the research in order to enhance the body of knowledge for a particular field. It is more about inventions. This research is more about inventions. So we'll be starting with the attitudes chapter. A very interesting chapter. So we start with the definition of attitudes. So what are these attitudes? A layman definition, when we look at it, when you ask a layman what an attitude is, they generally refer to it as something which is having a negative connotation. Don't show me attitude. Don't throw that attitude at me. So generally you sense a negative connotation to it. But psychologically speaking, if we go with the definition of it, it is a learned thing. Once you learn, it is going to stay there for a longer period of time. That is why it is an enduring thing as well. So it is learned, it is enduring. Because it is learned and it is enduring and it is within you, it pushes you to act in a particular manner that we say as predisposition to act. It gives a bend to act. That is, it pushes you in one particular direction to act. In what manner? Act either favorably or unfavorably. So it is a learned, enduring predisposition to act either favorably or unfavorably. Towards what? Towards a person, an object, an event, or a group of the above. Towards anything. If we have an inclination, predisposition is an inclination to act either favorably or unfavorably. As a result of what? As a result of our learning, is known as what? An attitude. We generally show that like, dislike. Okay. So this is the definition of attitudes. So it is a evaluation we have, a general evaluation of anything around us. So you like or dislike something means it's a evaluation we have about something. So where do we get these attitudes from? Where did we learn these attitudes from? We learn these attitudes as a result of the emotions we display. As a result of emotions, we have some attitudes. As a result of our thoughts, our thinking, we have these attitudes developed. As a result of our behaviors, we have some attitudes developed in us. So behaviors as in our experiences, past experience, you have acted in a particular manner, as a result of which you have some attitudes developed. So it can be either your thoughts or your beliefs, the emotions that you have gone through, or the behaviors you have engaged in. All of these have led to the formation of attitudes in you. Persuasion. The other recordings are available, all the others are available. No? Persuasion. It is an active attempt by one person to change other person's attitudes, emotions, beliefs, or even behavior. Okay. Active attempt by one person or a group of individuals to change other person or group to change their attitudes, emotions, beliefs, behaviors, usually by the use of messages. This is the first one related to persuasion. ALE attitude change approach. Developed by Howland and his colleagues at the Yale University. That is why ALE attitude change approach. So it is a significant theory in the field of communication and persuasion. Okay. So it focuses on the process of attitude change. Process of attitude change as a result of communication. How communication can lead to attitude change. So what actually determines attitude change? What factors in communication are responsible for attitude change? Okay, so it lists the factors in communication that can lead to effective persuasion or attitude change. So that itself is persuasion, right? So there are some factors which we must take into consideration. Okay, next chapter is memory. Though the general definition most of us know is recall. Memory as a concept is much, much wider. It is a very wide concept. According to Badley, this person along with Hitch, Badley and Hitch, they together give us a model later on, right? Working memory model they gave us. According to this person, memory is a very active system. See, we look at memory as something which is like a store from where we can take. That is how we look at memory. But according to Badley, it is a very active system. It's not like, some static system. It's a very dynamic system where many things are happening. Okay. So how do we look at memory? Memory is somewhere we put something, information we have put, it will be there. Whenever we want, we can take it. That's how we look at it. But Badley says it is not like that. It's a very active system, which involves reception of information from various sense organs. Reception. Conversion. Conversion to usable form. Organization for storage. Organization for storage. Retrieve when needed. All of it put together is what is your memory. It is not a passive system. It's an active system. All the while information is coming in, it is being received, it is being converted from one form to another form, right, into usable form, then it is being organized. Just think about it. If you throw all the items at your home haphazardly, will you be able to retrieve the items when you need? It's highly impossible. Just look at the kitchen, no? All spices at one place, right? All the cereals on the other, right? Cereals, pulses on one side, vegetables on the other side. हाँ, ऐसा करो, पूरा covers में डाल के सब एक ही साथ डाल दो. Will you be able to retrieve? It's very difficult. That is why organization of information is very important. Without which retrieval also becomes difficult. Now tell me, if you organize in a particular manner, will you be able to store more? Or if you don't organize, will you be able to store more? With organization comes more storage capacity, more efficiency, right? So that is why it is an active system. Okay, all these things keep happening regularly. Memory is something which consists of, is a hypothetical construct. Hypothetical construct. A concept, we can say, which consists of 3 components which are highly interrelated. Three interrelated processes. They are distinct processes but are interrelated. They are different, but they are interrelated, highly interrelated.
So what are individual differences? People vary from person to person
on the basis of certain traits or characteristics. What traits or characteristics? They vary from one another in intelligence. They vary from one another in personality. They vary from one another in problem solving. Yes, they vary from one another in their attitudes, interests. This is what creates individual differences. Agreed? So, this is individual differences. Now, the other part of the chapter is what? So, the focus of the chapter is not on individual differences. The measurement of individual differences. How do you psychologically measure this? How do you psychologically measure it? We measure it by the way of some tests. So this chapter is about tests. This chapter is about tests. So there is a separate branch for measurement of psychological attributes. So these are all psychological attributes. So quantification and measurement of these psychological attributes, we call it as psychometry or psychometrics. So psychometrics or psychometry is a branch of psychology for quantification and measurement of those psychological attributes, behavior, performance, all these, if you are trying to measure. And the study of this would be called as what? Psychometry or psychometrics. So it involves design of tests, analysis of tests, design of tests, analysis of tests, questionnaires, what questions to be included, what questions not to be included, and various other aspects related to the testing itself. Now, what is a psychological test? So we use the psychological test to measure individual differences or various psychological attributes. What is a psychological test? Psychological test is a standard instrument. It is any standard instrument. When I say instrument, it's a tool, not a device per se. You can say it is a tool. A standardized instrument or a standard instrument which has various items. It has items within it. Instead of calling it questions, we are calling it as what? Items. Which aim to measure the psychological attributes. It is any standardized instrument containing several items to measure psychological attributes. That's it. What are the characteristics of a psychological test? What characteristics are there for a psychological test? 1, objectivity. This is the first characteristic that must be there in a psychological test. It is related to two aspects, objectivity along two lines. One, of items of scoring. Of items and scoring. What is objectivity of items? It means UPSC में UPSC का test, let's say it is a psychological test. In UPSC, you have a question. If you read the question, you take a particular meaning out of the question. If this person reads the question, if this person also takes the same meaning of the question, then there is objectivity in that question. Yes, then we say there is what? Objectivity of items. The meaning derived from the item should be same across people. So a question is asked in a psychological test, everybody should understand the same way.